All right, everyone. Ready for a deep dive today? We're talking AI research assistants. Specifically, something called NotebookLM.
Definitely. This is one of those tools that sounds almost too good to be true,
Yeah.
right? Like having a super-powered research assistant who's read everything and can answer any question you throw at it.
Yeah, exactly. You hand it a stack of articles, research papers, whatever you've got, and boom, it becomes an instant expert on your material.
It's fascinating how it takes this tech we've been hearing about, large language models, like what powers ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and really hones it in on a specific set of information.
And people are already using it in some seriously creative ways. We've got academics using it for literature reviews, students making these AI study guides. Heck, there are even people making whole podcasts with NotebookLM.
Yeah, one of the articles I saw was about a researcher who fed the system the entire code base for Llama 3.
Llama 3, that's like a blueprint for building a large language model, right?
Exactly. And then get this, he turned the AI's output
Mhm.
into an educational video.
Sure.
So Meta,
Hold on. So it's AI explaining AI? That's
Yeah.
wild.
it is. It's pushing those boundaries of how we think about learning, not just textbooks and lectures anymore.
Absolutely. Several articles highlighted how this could be huge for research. Imagine uploading a dozen academic papers and being able to query them all at once, like it's one giant database.
Precisely. And it's not limited to just academic stuff either. We're seeing people use it with PDFs, Google Docs, even just website URLs.
It's like having that super organized friend, the one who devours information and then tells you the most interesting parts in a way that makes sense. Only this friend is available 24/7.
And it never gets tired of answering your questions.
Exactly. But of course, no tech is perfect. Some articles did point out potential issues with accuracy, and whether the AI might reflect biases from the data it was trained on.
Indeed, critical thinking is always important. We can't just blindly trust any tool, no matter how advanced.
Totally. But what excites me is how it could make information more accessible. Think about students with different learning styles. Now they could potentially absorb information through audio summaries or these interactive study guides.
Like opening up a whole new world of learning possibilities.
It is. Okay, so we've got this amazing tool that can summarize information, answer questions, maybe even spark new ideas. But let's get into some specifics. What was the first story that really grabbed your attention?
Well, there was this project at Lindenwood University that I thought was fascinating.
Lindenwood University. Okay.
Researchers there used NotebookLM to analyze the diary of Mary Easton Sibley. She was actually the university's founder.
Wow. So they fed a historical diary to an AI. What happened?
They turned it into a podcast, a 12-minute episode with two AI hosts, a man and a woman, discussing the diary's themes. Sibley's views on faith, education, her relationships, they made it sound like a real conversation.
Wait, so instead of just reading a dry historical document, students could listen to a conversation about this woman's life.
Exactly. It makes history so much more relatable and engaging, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's like bridging that gap between the past and present. History isn't just dates and names, it's about real people.
Right. And this is just one example. Think about the potential for making scientific research papers more accessible to the public, or historical documents more engaging for students.
It's incredible to think about. But what about something a bit more, well, practical? I think you mentioned professionals using this for work.
Absolutely. One article focused on a research scientist, someone who specializes in robotic manipulation, and he actually used NotebookLM to analyze one of his own research papers.
So we're talking next level stuff here. Even experts in their field can benefit from this.
Apparently so. He said it helped him see his own work in a new light, helped him come up with some fresh research ideas.
Wow. So it's not just about understanding existing knowledge, it's about pushing those boundaries even further.
It seems like it. And this researcher also talked about how NotebookLM helped him collaborate with his colleagues. He shared his notebook, and they were able to add their own thoughts and insights.
Okay, so it becomes like this shared workspace where everyone can contribute. That's huge, especially with so many people working remotely these days.
It is. It really highlights that collaborative potential.
Okay, so we've got history, science, even robots. But let's be honest, not all of us are researchers or academics. What about the average person, someone who just wants to make their daily life a bit easier? Any cool applications for them?
Oh, absolutely. One article talked about how people are using NotebookLM to create these super-powered to-do lists, like on steroids.
Right.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
imagine having an assistant who not only reminds you about that dentist appointment you're trying to forget,
Yeah.
but also helps you figure out the best time to schedule it around your other tasks and errands.
Okay, so forget AI taking over the world. It's going to be organizing our sock drawers next. But seriously, though, I am hearing some buzz about NotebookLM and its creative potential. Some people are saying it can help with writing.
Yeah, there were a couple of articles about that. One writer was using NotebookLM to create character profiles for a novel she was working on.
Okay, interesting. So, like, instead of those corkboards with red string and note cards, it's all digital.
Exactly. She could input all these details about each character, their backstories, motivations, relationships, and NotebookLM would basically help her flesh out these really in-depth profiles.
It's like having a digital brainstorming partner.
Right. And because it's got access to all that information you fed it, it can make connections that you might not even think of.
So, does it actually write the story for you, or is it more about just like sparking ideas?
It's definitely more of a collaboration from what I gathered. The writer is still the one in control, but NotebookLM acts as this sort of thought partner, helping to explore different creative avenues.
That's so cool. It's like having an AI muse whispering ideas in your ear. But it does beg the question, where does this all go next? What's the future of this technology?
Well, one article was predicting that NotebookLM is just the beginning, that soon we're going to have AI tools integrated into every aspect of our lives. They were talking about AI tutors for students, AI research assistants for professionals, even AI companions.
Well, hold on. AI companions, like digital friends. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's a little Black Mirror, isn't it?
I know what you mean, but think about it. AI could be used to connect us with people from all over the world, break down communication barriers. It could help us learn new things, explore new
I
interests.
see your point. Like any technology, it's all about how we use it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we do have to be mindful of the potential downsides too.
Yeah.
Ethical considerations, data privacy, making sure this tech is used for good.
Absolutely. Huge responsibility comes with this level of advancement. Speaking of responsibility, do you have any tips for people who are excited to jump in and start using NotebookLM? How can they get the most out of it?
Oh, for sure. One article stressed the importance of being organized with your sources. Don't just dump everything into one giant notebook. Create separate ones for different projects or areas of interest.
Right, so it's like having a bunch of specialized AI assistants instead of one that's trying to do it all.
Exactly. Makes it a lot easier for the AI to process the information and give you relevant answers. Also, make sure your sources are formatted clearly. No handwritten notes on cocktail napkins.
Uh-huh. Good advice. What about asking questions? Any tips on how to get the best responses from NotebookLM?
Definitely. Be specific. The clearer your question, the better the answer. Don't just ask, tell me about the French Revolution. Instead, try something like, what were the key economic factors that led to the French Revolution?
Got it. So it's like training a puppy. The more specific the command, the better the behavior. Now, I know we talked about note-taking earlier, but it's more than just a digital notepad, right?
Right. You can actually capture information directly from your AI interactions. Let's say the AI gives you a really insightful answer to one of your questions. You can save that as a note.
Wait, so you can create your own little collection of AI wisdom? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can also highlight passages from your uploaded sources and save those as notes, too. It's like digital highlighting, but way more organized.
So no more frantically searching through stacks of paper trying to find that one important quote. I like it. But with all those notes, it seems like it could get overwhelming. Any organizational tips?
NotebookLM lets you group your notes by topic, tag them with keywords, even drag and drop them into different orders. It's very user-friendly.
That's good to hear, because with great power comes great responsibility to not lose track of everything. But all this talk about personalization and customization does make me wonder about privacy. Is my data safe with NotebookLM?
It's a valid concern. From what I've read, Google's designed NotebookLM with privacy in mind. Your data is stored securely, and you have control over who can access your notebooks.
So it's not like they're sharing my brilliant ideas with the world or using them to train other AI models without my permission.
Not from what I understand. They've explicitly stated that your personal data isn't used to train NotebookLM, and any sensitive information you have in your sources should stay private unless you choose to share your notebooks.
Okay, good to know they're taking that seriously.
Right.
But you're right, it's always good to be mindful of these things with any new technology. Speaking of new technology, we can't forget about one of NotebookLM's most talked about features, the AI-generated podcasts. It's one thing to have an AI summarize a document, but to have it create a whole audio experience, Mind-blowing.
It really is something else. Imagine being able to transform a research paper, a meeting transcript, even just a collection of recipes into a podcast episode. The possibilities are endless.
So it really is as simple as it sounds. Like, tell me more about this process. How does it actually work?
Basically, you upload your stuff, whatever it is, hit a button that says like generate audio overview, and poof, a few minutes later, you've got yourself an AI podcast.
Okay, but what about the quality, though? I mean, are we talking about like a robotic voice reading off a script, or is it actually listenable?
That's the thing. It's not just some robotic voice. These podcasts, they're structured like real conversations, you know?
Yeah.
You've got two AI hosts with distinct voices going back and forth, and it sounds shockingly natural. Like they even throw in pauses, inflections, to make it sound less robotic.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me this AI is cracking jokes now?
Well, maybe not jokes exactly, but yeah, it's programmed to make the content engaging, so it might throw in a little humor here and there just to keep things interesting.
Wow, that's pretty incredible when you think about it. So where do we go from here? What's the future of AI podcasting?
One of the articles suggested that this could really democratize audio content creation. Like imagine anyone with a computer and internet could create a professional-sounding podcast without needing any fancy equipment or technical skills.
Now that you mention it, that's a really interesting point. It could be huge for educators, researchers, small businesses, anyone really who wants to share their knowledge but maybe doesn't have the resources for traditional podcasting.
Exactly. And it's not just about making new podcasts either. Think about all the existing audio content out there, like audiobooks, for example. What if you could upload an audiobook to NotebookLM and get back a series of shorter, more focused episodes, each one covering a specific theme or chapter?
It's like having AI-generated Cliff's Notes for audiobooks. That's amazing, especially for students or anyone who prefers to learn by listening.
Right. And as the technology gets even better, I can see us having even more options.
Yeah.
Maybe you could choose different AI voices or accents for your podcast. Like you could have Morgan Freeman narrate your grocery list if you wanted to.
Okay, now that would be awesome. But it does make you wonder, how realistic can these AI voices actually get? Isn't that whole uncanny valley thing, where it's almost too real and starts to creep people out?
That's definitely something researchers are thinking about. They're working on making AI voices that are both realistic but also emotionally expressive. Voices that convey not just words, but tone, nuance, personality.
So we're not just talking about AI that can read the news. We're talking about AI that could tell a story, teach a class, maybe even do stand-up comedy.
Maybe one day. But yeah, the goal is to capture that human element that makes audio so powerful.
It's both exciting and a little bit intimidating, right? This technology has the potential to change so much about how we create and consume information.
For sure. And like we've been talking about, it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how we choose to use it.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to make sure AI is developed and used ethically.
Well said. It's a conversation we need to keep having. But for now, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into NotebookLM.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. We talked about how it's changing research, making learning more accessible, even its potential for creative writing. And of course, we couldn't forget about those AI-generated podcasts.
It's amazing to think that all this is just the tip of the iceberg, Who knows what incredible AI tools we'll have at our fingertips in the next few years.
It's an exciting time to be curious about the future, that's for sure. But for now, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Anytime. It's a great conversation.
Until next time, everyone.